the hand grenade in the room, what we like to say when we run our forums, is off-road vehicle management.
Sure.
So yeah, what successful projects, programs or policies are being implemented in your area to combat off-road vehicle impacts? At our forums, I can let you know that it comes up every time, almost no matter where we are, from Mandurah all the way down to Walpole. It sort of goes round in circles about what needs to be done, almost higher up in the sort of state level, or that kind of thing, policy, legislation. And you talk about the different sort of methods. We heard about your look at sacrificial sites. I guess we'll discuss that. You might go over that. But I think you also heard about our Preston Beach Volunteer Rangers. And I know you guys even had a bit of a paid ranger up there that was specifically coastal at one stage.
We did, yeah.
So what are your thoughts and examples of that up your way?
All right, so just to talk about the off-road vehicle area project that we ran. So we got CoastSWaP funding to conduct a feasibility study for establishing a gazetted off-road vehicle area in the northern part of the Northern Agricultural region. The southern area has two gazetted areas, which is Lancelin and Ledge Point, and they do, to a certain extent, take some of the pressure off the surrounding areas. So we were looking to establish a gazetted area in the north. Unfortunately, we kind of hit a little bit of a dead end in that regard because the land use issues, land planning issues, and I think it's a tricky one for local governments to get their head around. There's always the fear of litigation if you establish a gazetted area within your LGA, and I think that we have to overcome that concept that these areas are potentially dangerous, and if they are established in an LGA, that you won't necessarily get sued if you've taken a good level of duty of care to make the users of that facility aware of the risks. And of course, off-road vehicle riding has lots of risks. So whilst we didn't actually successfully establish an area, I think the report has given us a lot of good background, and I find myself often, when I'm out and about in the region, sort of looking at an area thinking, I wonder what land tenure here is. It's a bit trashed by off-road vehicles, and I wonder if we could look at investigating this. So I keep it in the back of my mind, and we still think it's part of the mix in managing the off-road vehicle issue. So aside from that particular project, we did have a part-time coastal ranger in the Geraldton area, very successful. But the commitment to ongoing funding just wasn't there, so unfortunately that ended. And
what was the funding for that at that time?
Yeah, it was a little bit before my time. As I understand it, it was mostly state NRM funding.
State NRM, okay.
So and that discontinued. Obviously, if we went down that path again, you might, through the capability grants, get something similar, but again, it would be temporary. So there's quite a bit of work going on in our region about through Aboriginal rangers as well. So most of that's inland, but I do think it has some potential to implement on the coast as well.
Do you think that something like a volunteer ranger program like Preston Beach, I don't know if you've heard much about it, but they set up almost 10 years ago, and it was originally set up in the city of Mandurah area, and there's no enforcement powers. They do have some, I think, under part of a legislation to give a warning, something like that level. But it's education and awareness, and it's eyes on the coast, and it took a little while for them to gain traction. But with their ongoing presence and also a level of positive engagement, not you can't do that. They have significantly reduced the impacts in that Waroona Shire boundary. Is it something that you'd be worth have a look at if we wanted to share a bit more info? Or
oh, look, absolutely. I think the key there is obviously in the volunteers. All right.
Totally.
So
It's about good people.
If you've got the volunteers who are prepared to undertake that, I'm just sort of scanning through my mind a lot of the volunteers and the issues that they face in our southern regions like Lancelin, Ledge Point, Cervantes, Jurien Bay. It would take a bit of a recruiting effort, I think, for those locals to feel comfortable to actually take that on. I mean, a lot of them express the opinion that, of course, that they live and work in these particular towns, and to be honest, I think some of them would feel quite vulnerable if they were to put themselves in that position. You'd
want a fair bit of support from that local government.
You would,
from the rangers, which these guys at Preston Beach have, and they've been given a fair bit of training as well. And it is a small group as well. It's sort of half a dozen basically, so a small group within that area. So okay.
Definitely keen, but would sort of like to match the hatch in that regard. In that, if you've got a particular group in a particular area who you think might have the capacity, then I would certainly look at implementing that.
All right.
And of course, there's the standard stuff as well. So we're keen on the education side of things for the off-road vehicles as well. So we are currently in putting some of that in prep. Just one thing I did want to mention as well is, and something that came up at the Victoria Coast to Coast conference, was steel cable fencing. So for those real problem areas where you're just sick of getting your fences cut, we've had some significant cable fencing put in at Gilderton, just north of Perth. It's a big problem. Quite expensive, about $10,000 per kilometre not installed. And that was a few years ago.
And to install that stuff is pretty full.
So like another 10 grand a kilometre, so you're talking 20 grand a kilometre. But there was a South Australian presenter at the Coast to Coast who had managed to source all this ferry cable that has to be replaced every 2 years. So he had these massive amounts of free cable that was uncuttable, roping off some of his areas, and it seemed pretty impressive to me. So anyway,
and you use a lot of those sort of those H-beams, don't you? The steel beam. Did you use the steel beams as the posts?
We did for ours. He uses pine. It's almost as a sort of sacrificial thing. Because if they smash the post down and drive over it, the cable's still intact. So you come along, stick another one, and eventually, as with most of these kind of control works, you tend to have to go through it, replacing damaged equipment for 3, 4, 5 times. But eventually it stops.
They're doing a little bit of that in our region as well, around Capelshire, up towards Bunbury, in one sort of blowout that motorbikes and quads were going over. They just put a series, not just one, but a series, so they could probably go around one. But then with 3 or 4, and then they just sort of give up. They used the big H-beam type steel posts. And a contractor, fencing contractor, pretty much rammed them down so far that you couldn't get them out.
That's right.
But the expense is there. But I think people realise you just got to make these things bomb-proof.
Well, that's it. And I guess my final say on that would be, I can see no reason why we shouldn't be lobbying at some level for some better legislation in this state. I think it's the ultimate solution to this.
Because it is also ultimately again political in a lot of ways, and we come up against that a fair bit. And this is where these conversations, whether it's forums or collective voices from regional groups as well as cross-regional stuff happens, because there's no other collective voice at this stage within that NRM, close care, land care type thing. So it's a great point, and something that we all need to band together from all across the state, really.
Even if it's just at this stage, just collecting evidence and information.
Sharing
to build a case. I mean, it's not hard, but we just have to have some clear evidence of some of the impacts. But anyway,
And just quickly on that, there was something about bylaws. You can pretty much address a lot of it on local government land.
It's true.
Through bylaws.
That's true.
However, once again, even that can be political, and local governments are sort of too scared in some ways. I've heard that they wouldn't want to do it, council laws, because they'll lose their spot. forward and just create too much of an uproar.
That's happened in the city of Greater Geraldton for sure.
Yeah.
Plus, it's complicated by the fact that so much of our coastal reserve is UCL.
Yep.
Which
so
is,
you couldn't put a bylaw into that.
No. A lot of it isn't vested in the local shire. So, I mean, you could control it here, but just over there.
Yeah.
And do you start fencing between UCL and coastal reserve? I mean, it's just the whole land tenure thing on the coast can be very tricky.